Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Ask the Millionaire. I hope everyone is having a great day wherever they're at, and that it's a beautiful day wherever you happen to reside. I hope your businesses are doing well and that they're growing. Uh, Let us start with the first question this morning, which is from Michael Wielding. Michael asked, what would I need to put in place to help prevent the infringement of my intellectual property from a new competitor on the market? I own a ticketing platform for selling event tickets. I'm looking to get my website reprogrammed with new programming language. So, if you don't want anybody to infringe on your intellectual property, uh, it's going to be hard to find that out unless you know that somebody is actually doing it and can prove that they're using the exact code or very similar code to you. And frankly, there's a lot of ticketing platforms out there. That being said, what I would do if I were you is I would contact my IP attorney and ask what are the preventive measures that you can take to make sure they don't copy you. And also, I would contact the cybersecurity agency and ask them also what you could do in order not to have you copied and to protect your intellectual property. It's pretty simple stuff in terms of what you can do, but the hard part is actually proving somebody, especially today with all the ticketing platforms, and proving that yours is really unique and that your IP will stand up. But that being said, contact your IP lawyer and make sure you have the right cybersecurity to make sure that you can protect your code. The next question is from Alex Wilkins. Alex said, should I create an employee handbook? I was thinking about how I'm transitioning into a better leader and manager. Should I create a handbook for my workers so they know things are changing and I'm shifting my attitude and mindset toward new goals on how the business should be run? So goals are different. I mean, are we talking about sales goals here, or are we talking about the culture that you're building and the rules within your organization? And there are plenty of HR handbooks and employee handbooks that are out there already on the web that you can buy and customize to your particular company. But if you're talking about a actual plan of how you plan to operate the business, that's different than the employee handbook, which is defining your vacation time, how you interact with different genders in the organization, what the protocols are for handling different types of problems. So you have to define what that's going to be. But assuming this is a handbook that is defining how your culture works and how you plan to operate, and the fact that it's an ongoing live system, as long as you have a company, there's always going to be updates to that employee handbook. I mean, clearly we saw in the Me Too movement that a lot of companies had to reconfigure their employee handbooks to adjust to a new and adjust world. That they had to change those employee handbooks to state what things were totally inappropriate for people to do. So again, I think it's a great idea. I think it puts everybody on the same page. But if I were you, I would maybe take a look at ones that are done and then customize it to your particular need. And then I would share it with my employees. That's what I did. I'd run over 25 startups, and every one of those handbooks I put together, I would pass it around for comments by the employees for things that should be added, subtracted, clarified, whatever. So I think you doing that is a really good move. Our next question is from Ricardo Delgado. Ricardo writes, based on the current economy, any negotiating tips as I go to renegotiate my retail lease for my barbershop? I have a barbershop with a 4-year lease with 12 years secured. Would I be able to negotiate that? Also, when I first started, I used my personal name to sign the lease, but now I have an LLC. Can I transfer the lease to my LLC as well? So that's between you and your landlord. If you have a certain number of years on the lease, you're going to have to stick by it because you personally guaranteed it. And I doubt that your landlord is going to want to take an LLC, which means if your business goes belly up, he can't go after you for the money that's owed to him. I would think that he would want to keep you personally on it. It's not like as if you are a large corporation like McDonald's and have plenty of assets and that your LLC will have significant amount of money. It's great for you to protect yourself in terms of if you do go belly up. That's what happened to my barber during the pandemic. 30 years in business, and then there was no business because where I live, downtown Philadelphia, all the lawyers and accountants that he was cutting their hair no longer were coming to him because they weren't working in the city anymore. And so that put him out of business. And in his case, he was lucky. He was like 3 months away from when his lease was up. But if you've got years left on your lease, the only way you're going to renegotiate that lease is if you sign a longer lease with them. And still, I can't imagine your landlord agreeing to have you sign as your corporation when you're a small barber shop. And he'd rather have you personally guarantee it because he knows if you don't do it, he can go after your personal assets and ruin your credit, which will make it very difficult for you to even get a bank loan. So again, if the landlord is also seeing a lot of tenants that are closing up, he might provide you with some incentives to stay or increase your lease. So it doesn't hurt to talk to the landlord. And if you've been hurt by the downfall and you're not getting customers back because they've now switched locations because they're not coming to work, then you should share with him your financials and tell him that you're in hardship and that you need to make some adjustments here for you to stay around, or you'll go belly up and there'll be nothing for him to get because you won't have any assets. The next question is from AJ Coots. AJ writes, how can I prepare my business to survive in the event of my passing? Recently, my wife and I, co-owners of our business, had a living will drafted for the protection of our children and assets. Going through the process, we realized we needed a contingency plan for the business too. From a legal perspective, we have figured that out. However, from a process perspective, I'm not sure what we should have in place or prepared ahead of time. If we were to pass, we want the new ownership to be equipped as possible to pick up the pieces and continue. So I have worked on these in the past with my own clients, and it sounds like maybe you're when I see it says agency, I'm assuming like you're an insurance agency and that you have a bunch of clients that you're working with. You would need to go and take your number 2 and number 3 people, if there's multiple people in the organization, develop a written plan for what's to take place and who's going to be in charge of what, and have them actually function in those roles for periods of time so they're equipped to take over when that's the case. And if you're looking to go and sell the business, if something happens to both of your kids want to go and sell the business, then you want to make sure that there's contracts in place that your people stay with the organization so that there's a transition. So maybe when you sell, there's an incentive for them to stay by the fact that they are going to get a piece of the sales transaction for that to happen. If not, then they'll all probably say, oh my gosh, the owner's died. I'm going to just take my book of business with me or whatever I do with me and go, and that business will have evaporated. Yes, you have ongoing relationships, but oftentimes, and you have to check this, insurance companies, if the insurance agent dies, they reassign the client to somebody else. And maybe even in those contracts, it says that they could reassign people regardless. So you need to check the contracts with the agencies and insurance companies that you deal with to find out what those contracts say in the event of your passing. Does the agency keep them, or does those contracts go to somebody else that the agency designates? So again, if I were you, I'd put together a plan in the event that something should happen to you, and put who's in charge of what. Make sure those people know it. Make sure your people are willing to stay. Give them a piece of the equity or piece of the sales price if in fact that happens, and you'll create a formula based on the number of years those people are with the organization. And then you should be set, but it's never a perfect situation. There's always things that you've forgotten. And I would gather my accountant, my attorney, and your top people in the room and have this conversation with all of them so you come up with a solid plan in place. The next question is from Melinda Clark. Melinda asked, do I need to form different companies for different product lines or services? I'm a nurse practitioner. I created a healthcare practice about 6 months ago, and so far I've been doing services that are primarily insurance-based, muscle, joint injections, and also dabbled in COVID testing and treatment. I want to add more services that will be primarily cash-based, vitamin infusions, regenerative therapies, etc. And I'm having a hard time forming a branding strategy that encompasses both, and I believe the buyer personas on each service line vary greatly. Should I form a separate business entity, or is there a way to keep it all in one? I don't want to stop the service I provide now to shift its focus, but I want to expand these other services. From what I see, the pros are more specific marketing, more defined focus practices. Cons, less cost effective to start and build and market two companies. So I faced a similar situation. I have Kramer Communications, where I develop business sales, operating, and marketing plans, and I work with family businesses. So I decided to create a different website and similar services, but it's now called Stress-Free Family Business. I also provide feedback on business plans and investor presentations. So I created Pitch to Me First because people were getting confused about what I was offering. Now, you're in healthcare, and everything you've told me is all healthcare related. So I might suggest that you say under your banner that you not only offer these services, but you've now offering a new service also. And just keep letting people know about the new services and list on your website all the different services you offer, because again, you're focusing on people's health care, on people's health. You're a nurse practitioner. So all these different things can fall under one. It's not like you're deciding that you're now going to focus on pediatrics, but at the same time you're working in hospice. So you might have two different websites for those two different services. They're not remotely connected, and your audience is not remotely the same. So that would make sense. But based on what I've read here, it sounds to me as if you should just let people know as you add each service on. And so maybe you'll add a new service per month on, or two new services per month on, but you'll list all these different services that you are doing. Now, the bigger question is, who's the target market here? Is the target market 50 and older? Is it target market people with type 2 diabetes? Is the target market women between 21 and 35? So you have to define who your market is for your services, and then you will know who to market to. But I would put these all under one website and not go and make those changes. Well, we had a quick morning here in terms of answering people's questions. I hope that all of you have a great and safe day. And I hope that if you have more questions, please send them to us. We're more than glad to answer any question that you put out there for us. And if we don't know the answer, then we will definitely make sure we connect you with the right people. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.